While Menglong was gone forever, Shiqi celebrates. Gao Taiyu smiles, the truth behind the scene. Stage lights flickered, the crowd cheered, and laughter echoed through the livestream, but somewhere in the shadows, a name that once shone so brightly had already faded into silence. Was it ignorance, denial, or something far darker? As emotions spiral and questions pile up, one thing becomes clear: behind the glittering smiles lies a story no one was supposed to see. Join Red Carpet Revealed as we uncover the truth, right now. Lights were dazzling that night, blinding beams slicing through the dark air of the arena, reflecting off hundreds of glittering phone screens held high like stars. On stage, Shiqi raised his microphone with a smile so radiant it seemed to light up the whole hall. The crowd roared. The drums thundered. Somewhere far away, in a quiet apartment whose curtains had been drawn for days, a different kind of silence settled, heavy, endless, and irreversible. Menglong was gone forever. At first, no one connected the two scenes, the celebration and the silence. The news broke in whispers, an unconfirmed report, a vague post, a single crying emoji under an old photo. Then came the official confirmation. Actor and singer Menglong has passed away. The world froze. Hashtags multiplied like wildfire. Reply Menglong, gone too soon. Where were his friends? But as the internet mourned, two faces kept appearing on trending pages: Shiqi and Gao Taiyu. One performing live, or laughing on a live stream. It was almost cruel in its timing, joy colliding with grief. Screenshots circulated. Captions screamed they're celebrating while he's gone, and heartless. The question rippled through fandoms, gossip sites, and entertainment news channels alike. How could they smile when the world was mourning? Red Carpet Revealed began watching the footage frame by frame. The concert, the livestream, the fan comments, the timestamps, all of it. The deeper we looked, the more the pieces refused to fit. Because behind those smiles, behind the confetti and filters, there was something off. Something that didn't match the image. Menglong had always been the quiet light in the trio. He wasn't the loudest, nor the flashiest. But he had a presence that anchored others, especially Shiqi and Gao Taiyu, who rose alongside him through projects, dramas, and variety shows. Fans called them the Unbreakable Three. But fame has a way of stretching bonds until they snap. And by the final months, rumors of tension had already begun. Backstage sources spoke of disagreements over creative control, over contracts, over who'd headline the next project. Some said Menglong wanted to step away, others whispered that he had been pushed out. What no one realized was just how deep the pressure had burrowed, into schedules, into friendships, into the fragile walls between public image and private pain. Weeks before his passing, Menglong's posts grew increasingly poetic, cryptic even. Sometimes silence is the loudest sound, he wrote in one caption beneath a photo of an empty stage. Fans thought he was teasing a new project. Now, those same words feel like a farewell written in plain sight. Meanwhile, Shiqi's concert was being planned for months, a nationwide tour promoted as The Light Returns. It was supposed to mark a comeback, a rebirth after a hiatus. Posters were everywhere. Tickets sold out in minutes. But the timing of that first show couldn't have been worse. When the tragedy hit, management had two options: cancel or continue. They chose the latter. That decision would haunt them. On the night of the concert, social media timelines were split in two, one side flooded with candle emojis and memorial posts, the other with videos of Shiqi dancing under flashing lights. Even before the encore, the outrage began to rise. "He's performing like nothing happened," one user wrote. Another replied, "Show some respect." By morning, Shiqi's name had turned from celebration to scandal. Then came Gao Taiyu. While the world was digesting the shock, Gao Taiyu went live on his personal stream, casual, cheerful, drinking coffee. Fan comments. At one point, he laughed. Just a few seconds, harmless in another context, but now, it became evidence. Clips were cut, slowed down, remixed. His smile looped endlessly on screens, captioned the smile that shattered fans' hearts. He posted an apology later that night. "I didn't know. I wasn't aware when I went live. But the damage was done." The comment section turned into a battlefield. Some defended him, others condemned. "Or his brother," one wrote. "Where was your grief?" age where emotion is currency. Silence costs too much? Yet the story didn't end there. As Red Carpet revealed began tracing the timeline, contradictions emerged. Fan Shiqi's management claimed they received the news after the concert, but leaked text messages suggested otherwise. Gao Taiyu's livestream timestamp seemed suspiciously close to when the announcement went public. And perhaps most chillingly, Menglong's last call log, according to one insider, included both of their names. If true, the tragedy wasn't just about timing or tone. It was about avoidance. In the industry, grief isn't private. It's scheduled, managed, and often suppressed for the sake of image. Show business doesn't stop for death. A veteran publicist once told us. It repackages it. But fans aren't machines. They feel authenticity. They know when something's off. And that weekend, everything felt wrong. In the days that followed, Fan Shiqi cancelled his interviews. Gao Taiyu vanished from social media. Statements were released, polished, neutral, almost robotic. The word unfortunate appeared too many times. None mentioned Menglong by name. And then, suddenly, an anonymous post appeared on an obscure entertainment forum. You have no idea what happened behind the scene. It wasn't celebration. It was survival. We reached out. The account was deleted within hours. Still, whispers grew louder. Some said Menglong had been planning to expose something, a financial dispute, a breach of contract, eternal blacklist. Others hinted that Fan Shiqi and Gao Taiyu were under pressure to stay silent. One even claimed a non-disclosure pact had been signed among certain artists weeks before the tragedy. Was it all conspiracy? Or the beginning of an unraveling truth? To understand, we had to go back to the final 72 hours before Menglong's death. Multiple sources recalled that he'd been seen at a rehearsal studio 3 nights prior, alone, recording vocals for a new song titled Echoes Fade. The track was never released. The producer later revealed the lyrics had changed drastically in the final draft. The original chorus contained the line "I sang for them." But they forgot to listen. Then there was a dinner, a small gathering of industry insiders, attended by both Fan Shiqi and Gao Taiyu. Photos from that night show smiles, champagne, a toast, celebrating the tour. One guest told us. But Menglong wasn't there. He was invited. He said he wasn't feeling well. 2 days later, he was gone. The sequence of events that followed became a media whirlwind. Fans began piecing together their own theories. Screenshots, DMs, private fan club statements, a mosaic of speculation. But as always, between the truth and the narrative, there was the company. The management agency moved quickly. Posts were deleted. Fan Shiqi's concert footage was edited before official upload. Removing crowd chants of Menglong, Gao Taiyu's livestream replay disappeared entirely. When journalists called for comment, lines went dead. Behind closed doors, however, tension boiled. An assistant who once worked with all 3 artists told us under anonymity, they were like brothers. But the company used that bond until it broke. Menglong wanted out, they isolated him. The others couldn't say a word. If that's true, then the laughter and singing weren't acts of cruelty, they were symptoms of fear. Still, the public wanted accountability. Outside the agency headquarters, fans left flowers and notes, "We remember." Plus the truth. He deserved better. Others chanted his name, tears mixing with the rain. For 3 days, the city pulsed with mourning. Hashtags turned into digital memorials. Streams of Menglong's old performances soared into millions. His face returned to billboards, not for a new project, but as a symbol of something deeper, the cost of silence. But what exactly was being silenced? Later, Red Carpet revealed obtained an internal memo, unsigned, but marked with the agency's watermark, instructing staff and affiliated artists to refrain from public commentary on recent events and to avoid emotional content that may disrupt ongoing partnerships. In other words, don't speak. Don't feel. For Fan Shiqi and Gao Taiyu, this was a professional command. A personal choice. They followed orders. But the internet doesn't forgive obedience when morality is on the line. Days stretched on. Fan Shiqi stopped posting entirely. His next scheduled show was quietly postponed due to technical reasons. Gao Taiyu disappeared from live streams. One tabloid published a grainy photo of him outside a temple, kneeling in prayer. Another reported he had checked himself into a wellness retreat. No confirmations ever came. Meanwhile, the fans kept investigating. They noticed inconsistencies, timestamps edited, tweets erased, collaborations cancelled. The more they dug, the more they found traces of something coordinated, systematic. Not just grief control. Narrative control. And that's when another piece surfaced, a private email thread leaked by a junior employee. It contained phrases like mitigate reputational exposure and ensure unified messaging across talent. It wasn't proof of malice, but it was proof of management. The sentence stood out: we cannot allow internal disagreements to affect public sentiment during this sensitive period. What internal disagreements? Between whom? The more we followed the trail, the clearer it became, this wasn't a single tragedy. Chain reaction, one that started long before the headlines. Old interviews resurfaced where Menglong mentioned feeling replaceable. A fan noticed a deleted comment from months earlier where he wrote, "Sometimes even friends forget your name when the cameras roll." And then there were the recordings. A clip circulated online, allegedly from a voice note Menglong sent to a close friend days before his passing. The audio was grainy. It was drowned by static. But one line was audible: "If I disappear, tell them I tried." No one knows if it was real. The source was never verified. Yet those 6 words haunted everyone who heard them. For fan Shiqi, the guilt became a shadow. People close to him said he stopped rehearsing. He sat in his studio for hours, singing old songs they had recorded together. When asked if he'd ever speak publicly about that night, he only said, "When the truth is safe." What truth? That's what we at Red Carpet Revealed wanted to know. And after weeks of silence, one insider finally agreed to talk, under condition of anonymity, of course. It wasn't that they didn't care. The insider began. They cared too much? Warned. There was a meeting. They were told to stay quiet, to smile, to continue. The show couldn't stop. Not for him. Not for anyone. Pause. Then, the voice added quietly, "And there's something else, a file he kept. Something he planned to release. We haven't seen that file yet. But we've heard its name whispered more than once, the Contract of Shadows. What's inside remains a mystery." First part of this investigation closes. The air around the entertainment world grows colder, heavier. Questions echo louder than applause. Fans demand transparency. But doors remain shut. The cameras that once adored these stars now glare like searchlights. And somewhere, perhaps, a hidden drive waits to reveal everything: the betrayals, the manipulation. The reason why Smiles felt so rehearsed that night. Because if there's one thing certain about this story, it's that nothing about Menglong's final days was accidental. And the silence of those who remain may soon speak louder than any song he ever sang. The message came at midnight, a single encrypted email with no sender name, no subject line. Just one sentence in the body. "If you want to know why he died, follow the file." Attached was a link. Expired. Deleted before it could even load. But that was enough to set the entire Red Carpet Revealed team in motion again. The trail that seemed to fade after Menglong's funeral suddenly blazed to life, whispers of a file that could explain everything. They called it the Contract of Shadows. We didn't know if it was real. But in the weeks that followed, as began to surface, fragments of emails, voice memos, deleted texts, and old performance logs. Together, they painted a picture no one wanted to believe: that Menglong had stumbled into a web of control stretching across the very industry that made him a star. According to multiple insiders, called contract wasn't about money or music. About silence. It bound artists, including fan Shiqi and Gao Taiyu, to clauses that restricted what they could say publicly about internal matters, emotional distress, or departures from the label. The phrasing was vague. Intent was unmistakable. "It's the golden cage," one former manager confessed. "Tell you, we'll make you famous. But you'll speak only when we hand you the microphone." Menglong had started pushing back. In private chats leaked later, he questioned the morality of it all. "If I can't speak truth in my own voice, what's the point of singing?" he wrote. A few weeks later, his tone shifted to exhaustion. "They'll never let me go. Not alive." No one knows who he meant by they. While fan Shiqi's world was unraveling, the aftermath of the backlash, he disappeared from the spotlight entirely. When he finally resurfaced, it was in the most unexpected place, a rural village 3 hours from Beijing. where locals reported seeing him visiting an old Buddhist temple every morning before dawn. He refused interviews. But one grainy photo told its own story, eyes swollen, hands clasped, head bowed before a candlelit altar. Caption under that viral image read, "Repentance." Taiyu, too, had vanished. The live streamer who once laughed freely now lived off-grid. His social media wiped clean. The only trace was a brief appearance in a charity video weeks later, thin, tired. His voice trembling as he thanked fans for keeping the light on for all of us. Some said he looked haunted. Said he was protecting something. Red Carpet Revealed decided to find out what. Through a contact who once worked as a technical assistant on Gao's projects. We obtained a backup of his livestream archives, files that had never gone public. Among hours of routine fan interactions, one clip stood out. Timestamp: 11:42 p.m. The night before Menglong's death. Taiyu, seated alone, leans close to the camera and whispers. Barely audible, "I can't do this anymore." Then, static. The stream cuts. Next day, he went live again, smiling. When we confronted a senior PR official from the agency about the clip, their response was short, old footage. Out of context. They hung up before we could ask another question. Truth doesn't hang up easily. Through the fragments we pieced together, a timeline began to emerge, one showing that the three men had been caught in a silent war of loyalty and fear. The company wanted compliance. Menglong wanted freedom. Shiqi and Gao Taiyu were torn between conscience and survival. Ex-producer described it best, they were like brothers standing on a stage made of glass, smiling because they knew if one cracked, they'd all fall. That glass finally shattered. The leak we'd been chasing, the contract of shadows, finally appeared not on a hacker forum, but in the least expected place, an old fan community that had remained private for years. Someone uploaded a text file titled His Voice. It contained scanned excerpts from legal documents, signed and dated, clauses forbidding unauthorized emotional statements, independent press interactions, defamatory interpretations of organizational decisions. It was all there. And at the bottom of one page, handwritten in faint ink, a note. Why I couldn't speak. Forgive me, M. That initial was enough. Menglong's handwriting. Confirmed by two graphology experts. Suddenly, the smiles of that night, fan Shiqi's bright grin on stage, Gao Taiyu's laughter on camera, took on a new stating meaning. They weren't symbols of betrayal. They were masks. Masks worn by men trapped in a machine that punished emotion, commodified grief, and rewrote truth in real time. But the public didn't know that. They only saw the smiles. As weeks turned into months, the industry began to close ranks. Journalists who asked too many questions found their credentials revoked. Entertainment shows that mentioned Menglong's name were mysteriously rescheduled or cut. Even tribute videos disappeared from official streaming platforms due to copyright issues. The erasure was clinical. Then, almost like fate's counterpunch, fan Shiqi broke the silence. It began with a midnight post on his personal page, a black square. No caption. Within minutes, it was deleted. But the next day, a longer message appeared. I'm not afraid anymore. He was my brother. I couldn't save him. But you deserve to know the truth. The internet exploded. Thousands of comments poured in. Fans begged him to elaborate. Others warned him to stay safe. Within hours, the post vanished again, replaced by an official statement from his management. Unauthorized content was uploaded due to an account compromise. We apologize for the confusion. Then, screenshots had spread everywhere. We later learned that fan Shiqi had been approached by independent filmmakers producing a documentary on artist exploitation. He agreed to speak off record, but the project was abruptly cancelled before production began. Rumor has it that sponsors pulled out under external pressure. Still, the tide was turning. The silence was cracking. A few weeks later, Gao Taiyu appeared at a private memorial service for Menglong, held quietly by fans near a riverside park. Dressed simply in black. Placed a single white lily on the ground, whispered something under his breath, and walked away before anyone could approach. Cameras caught tears glistening under his mask. For the first time, empathy replaced anger. That night, a short clip surfaced on fan forums, Gao speaking softly to an unseen crowd, "We all carry ghosts. Some we can talk about, some we can't. Never laugh again like I did that day. His voice cracked. The clip ended. The phrase became a movement. Never laugh again trended for weeks, reclaiming the narrative from hate to healing. People began to see the tragedy not as betrayal, but as a symptom of a cruel industry that demanded constant perfection. An industry that taught its idols to smile while breaking inside. And closed doors, though. Forces moved fast to contain the damage. PR companies launched image restoration campaigns. Influencers were paid to steer conversation toward new releases. One major network even aired a tribute concert featuring sanitized footage, where Menglong's name was mentioned only once, buried in the credits. But red carpet revealed wasn't finished. Our final breakthrough came from someone who had worked directly under the agency's legal department. They provided a copy of an internal audit, a confidential report prepared weeks before Menglong's death. The report outlined psychological distress incidents among artists and recommended public emotion training workshops to manage unscripted grief responses. In plain terms, they were teaching stars how to fake their emotions better. Reading that document was like staring into the heart of the machine. Dear, every smile, every apology fans had dissected for authenticity, all of it choreographed, rehearsed, monetized. And yet, beneath the layers of manipulation, something human kept breaking through. One paragraph in the report noted that Menglong had expressed strong resistance to emotional regulation guidelines and requested counseling outside corporate supervision. His request was denied. 2 weeks later, stopped showing up to rehearsals. We can't say the system killed him, but it certainly didn't save him. In a private message recovered later, Shiqi wrote to a friend, "I used to think silence was safety. Now I know it's a cage." Line became the headline of countless opinion pieces, sparking an industry-wide debate. Celebrities began sharing cryptic messages of support, candle emojis, lyrics from Yu's unreleased songs. Phrase we remember. Each post disappeared within hours, but not before fans archived them all. It is no longer just a story. It was a reckoning. Months later, a small independent label released a digital track titled Echoes Fade. The song Menglong had been working on before his death. No one claimed credit for uploading it. The metadata traced back to an anonymous user with the initials FS. The song opened with a haunting whisper. The truth is heavy. Let it sink, but let it be heard. It had been streamed over 1 million times. In the chorus, his voice, delicate, carried a message that transcended the noise. And hide the pain, but not the sound of it. Fan Shiqi's name reappeared online weeks later, sent in a scandal headline. It was beneath a candlelit photo caption simply, "I sang with him one last time." Gao Taiyu, too, began to resurface, slowly, cautiously. In an interview months later, when asked what he learned from it all, he paused for a long time, then said, "We smiled because we thought that's what the world wanted. Maybe what the world really needed was our tears." Sentence echoed across social media like a confession and a prayer combined. By the end of that year, industry groups were quietly revising artist contracts. Emotional well-being clauses were introduced. Counseling became mandatory. The same entertainment companies that once profited from silence now promoted mental health transparency. Cynics called it damage control. Others called it progress. For red carpet revealed. Wasn't vindication, just continuation. Because the story of Menglong, Fan Shiqi, and Gao Taiyu wasn't just about tragedy. It was about truth, fragile, forbidden, but unstoppable. The last file we uncovered contained an internal memo written months after everything unfolded. One line was underlined 3 times. Containment complete. Public sentiment neutralized. But sentiment cannot be neutralized. Not when millions remember. Not when songs linger. Not when a smile once meant to deceive becomes the very proof of pain. Today, fans still leave white lilies and handwritten notes at Menglong's memorial. Some bring portable speakers. Echoes fade. Others simply stand in silence, the kind of silence that no longer hides, but honors. And somewhere, far from the flashing cameras, Fan Shiqi and Gao Taiyu still carry his memory, the laughter, the regret. The night the music turned cold. When the lights fade and the applause dies, the truth remains, waiting, whispering, refusing to disappear. In the world of fame, smiles can be scripted, but guilt cannot. has been red carpet revealed, uncovering the truths the industry wants to forget.